Hey everyone, welcome back. So we just created a basic component, but we all know that there are many types of components out there. They have components with icons, which we're not really going to get into just yet, but we have components with icons, like buttons like that. We have buttons that are different colors, different sizes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create something we call a variant. So let's jump right in. So I'm going to make a copy of this component. So I'm just going to duplicate it and drag it below. And here I can go ahead and I'm going to actually make this button way larger. This is like my marketing button. So it's going to be like 56 pixels and it's going to have like more width on it. And then I'm going to create another couple of variations. So I'm going to have a button over here as well. And this one is actually going to be like an inverted button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the fill to 0. And I'm going to take the stroke here, give it a stroke, and go back to my document colors. So it's going to have a stroke on the outside. And then the actual fill of the label is going to be the same as the blue. So now we have a stroke like that, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So we can actually just copy this. Oops. We can copy this instance that we're using and just shrink it down. So now we have 4 buttons. Now the thing is, you don't want to create like 4 different separate components because that can be really hard to just manage. So what we'll do here is we're going to select them all. And I'm going to actually remove this instance. I'm going to select these all, and I'm going to actually detach the instances. So if I right click here, and where is it? It's right there. So for Mac users, it's going to be Command Shift B, but this is your shortcut. So I'm going to use my shortcut, or I'm just going to click there. And now I have all of these buttons and they are not components yet. I'm going to go into this little drop down here and create a component set. So what's going to do is it's going to create this stroked bounding box that basically encompasses all these versions. And this is what we call a variant or variants. Now, what we're going to do here is we are going to look over here into the variant panel. So if I click this box, I can come here and specify properties, and properties are basically the distinguishers between the types of variants. So you can have a property for like, say, type of button. So that could be the primary and secondary. Then you can have another property. You can have a lot of them. You can have a property for size. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create 2 properties. So we already have one here. We can double click on that just to rename it. And we're going to make the first one called size. And we're going to select our larger one. So I'm going to hold Shift. And here you can see the current variant. Right now, the size is set to default, but we're going to just rename that. And we're going to rename that to large. So, okay, now we have those set to large. And now we're going to take our smaller versions and we're going to click that and go to the size. And we're going to rename those as regular. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click that button again and click the properties up here. And we're going to create a new component property. So you can choose what type of property you want, whether it's Boolean, interface, swap, text. And these we will get into later. These are called component properties, a little bit more advanced. And we're going to go into the variant. That's what we want. We want another variant. And we're going to name this one type. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to say these 2 are the type primary. And these 2, we're going to call them the type of secondary. And there you go. We have our components. Now, what does this look like in the assets panel? Let's delete our original button. So now we still have the same button here. But now when we drag it, you can see on the side that now, instead of having to go back into your assets panel and pick new buttons over and over again, you have them over here. So now I can specify that this is a large button and it's secondary, and you can swap between these different variants really easily. And if you want to make sure everything's neat here, you can even adjust the stroke of the bounding box to whatever color you want. You can actually make it an auto layout frame and stack those nicely on top of one another if you really wanted to. That all comes down to preference, but that's how you create variants within Figma.